the first period. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang with 2 goals in the 21st minutes after first being teed up by Kolasinac, but most of it all his own work. And then a really good team goal. Özil and Maitland-Niles involved for Auba's second, but the second half was very different. And Watford really pushed and pressed and came into their own, cleverly rasped home after some awful defensive play involving Socrates mainly, and then Pereira from the spot kick after David Luiz conceded once again inside the area. And Watford had chances to win it late on, notably through Abdoulaye Doucouré. Thankfully they didn't, but this is going to go down as a frustrating and disappointing performance given the fact that the Gunners were 2 to the good after 45 minutes. As we hand you back to the Emirates Stadium, full time here is finished. Watford 2, Arsenal 2.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, it was a yellow tide of pressure at Vicarage Road, that's for sure. And actually, Dan, I've got to say, it was 2-0 when Tim and Nigel were on comms, and it did kind of change when you came into the picture, got to be said. No, certainly nail-baiting stuff, though, and lots of you guys at home have been very nervous, as have we in the Arsenal Nation Live studio. We've got a few gifts here. That's exactly how we were watching the game, actually. And I think Reece and Jim are still doing something similar. Yeah, no nails left either. Exactly how we're feeling in the studio. Jim, we'll come to you first. Is that how you're feeling right now?
Yeah, that is exactly how I'm feeling right now. I mean, we said at half-time that, you know, Aubameyang's goal showed the best of Arsenal and what you want to see as a team or as a fan from the team. And this is the worst of Arsenal and exactly what you don't want to see. This is the frustrating things that have repeated themselves. And obviously the first goal in particular is a ridiculous one to give away. But it's the reaction to that and allowing that pressure to get the best of Arsenal. And again, that's what we saw in the away form last season that was so costly by the end of the season.
Yeah, Reece, Watford were dominant in possession. They were the better side in the second 45. I mean, how disappointed are you?
Yeah, I'm very disappointed. I think you can accept if you've been outplayed, you know, by a better side, but I just think that Arsenal is a completely different mentality in the second half. And again, the first goal is horrific. Second goal, for me as an ex-defender, it's lazy defending. But then it's just the Watford just seem to have more desire. And it's a very archaic way of looking at it, but the reality was, you know, that's where the Sanchez-Flores impact was. It's a new manager, the fans are up, you know, they've turned over a 2-goal deficit. And, you know, Doucouré's chance at the end, I almost fell off my chair when he's missed that. You know, to lose that game 3-2 would have been horrific. Yeah. And the reality is, you know, we feel like it's a defeat after the first half performance. But now, evaluating that in the second half, you know, I'm sitting there thinking, it might not be a bad point, but from where we were, the jubilation of the first half to now sitting here reflecting on the second half period, the display, it's night and day. So not great feeling for me and Jim also at this point.
We'll take the point, is what you're saying. I think lots of Arsenal fans will echo that. Well, of course, that first goal was an error from the back, from the goal kick from Leno, and a blunder from Socrates, of course. And there's a few tweets on that. Arsenal, please just stop playing. Put the back like this. Another tweet on that then. Stop trying to play out from the back. Lots of fans feeling the same about this. They're calling to see that change. Arsenal deserved that. How many times do you want to make the same mistake? Arsenal finally caught at the back, always coming. And here's one fan's response as well. I'm just an Arsenal fan dreaming of seeing this. Yeah, it's something that we've seen happen before, isn't it? And we actually did say when we were watching, when do you learn from those mistakes, Reece?
Point in case, really. But it's a process, and I think every team has to go through a process to get players comfortable in a style of play. Again, we spoke on it, you know, about the Man City Norwich game. Nicolas Otamendi, exactly the same thing, receiving the ball in an uncomfortable position without knowing what's around him. It's one of those ones. You have to take yourself out of your comfort zone to learn and develop as a player. But if I'm Socrates, I do not want to receive the ball inside my own 6-yard box. And then the whole thing from there unravels. Guendouzi's come off in a straight line. The pass is forced. Tom Cleverley's just gone, OK, I'll tap that in from there. And it looks great when it comes off. You know, we all want to see beautiful football, you know, passing out through the back, playing through the lines. And when it works, it looks fantastic. But the reality is sometimes away from home, 2-0 up at the start of the second period where you just want a bit of consolidation. There's nothing wrong with playing beyond the press, playing a little bit longer. But who am I? You know, I'm not the decision maker. It's just my opinion as a fan, but so frustrating.
Watford were pushed quite high up at that point, weren't they? They were clearly waiting for something like that to happen. It was part of their plan to put that pressure on, and Arsenal just invited that and continued to invite it, and it set the tempo for that second half. I mean, the last 10 minutes in particular, it was mentioned in commentary, if it had gone on for another 10 minutes, there's only one team looking like winning it, and it certainly wasn't Arsenal. So you've got to vary your play, surely.
Is that a bit more of a bitter pill to swallow for you as fans watching, when we've almost gifted them those goals?
Yeah, well, we said it all through the piece, really, watching the game. You know, with the exception of the Doucouré chance, where it was an exceptional break and, you know, arguably would have been goal of the season had that gone in. But I don't really remember Watford properly breaking us down.
No, distance.
No, exactly. Or Arsenal giving the ball away. The amount of times, you know, one of the tweets we had on there, the amount of times Arsenal gave the ball away in the defensive third trying to play out. And, you know, from that point, you know, Watford are always going to be dangerous. Delafeu, I thought, gave young Ainsley Maitland-Niles a really challenging afternoon. I thought he was fantastic from a Watford perspective. But for the main, Arsenal just, you know, made it too easy for Watford in the second half in particular to break us down. And as Jim said, played into their hands by trying to play short tippy-tappy passes when they're set up for the press. It was frustrating, to say the least, watching it.
I love that you say that with a smile still,
You've got a smile, haven't you?
Let's talk about the substitutions then, because there were certainly some interesting choices there. You know, lots of people were saying, should Ozil have been sacrificed? You know, because he could have potentially shored up the midfield a bit. But of course, the players that were introduced, the likes of Torreira, you know, had been on international duty. What did you make of the changes that Unai made in the second half?
Well, I thought the Torreira Guendouzi would be the first one, based on the fact that I didn't think Mateo had his best afternoon. He looked a little bit leggy and his passing wasn't as it has been. And I think Torreira is the perfect foil for that, a little bit more, well, I say disciplined, but a little bit more tenacious. I think the Ceballos-Willock one was the strange one for me, because Ceballos was the one that was dictating the pace of play for Arsenal in the first half. He was the one that you want to receive the ball on the edge of his 18-yard box with his back to play, because he's got a bit of ability to get out of the situation. So that for me was a little bit of a strange one. I think maybe that was done with Joe Willock's willingness to run box to box. And to be fair to him, you saw his endeavours in the second half getting up and down. And then Reece Nelson coming on for Ozil. Ozil hasn't played a lot. So perhaps, again, around about the 65, 70-minute mark, you know, Emery's thought he's probably run his race. Again, I'm not going to sit here and criticise the young players that came on, because, you know, coming on in those circumstances is always going to be difficult to have an impact. I think the damage was done long before the substitutions were made, to be honest with you, because the mentality from Arsenal in the second half was so different to the first.
And I feel like making 3 midfield changes as well is, I think it's asking a lot of the team to find a natural coherence in a position where you are under the cosh like that. Obviously, we're not privy to what the game plan is. I'm sure this was all discussed in training, but it felt like each change looked like there was a plan to sort of help shore it up, and perhaps that game plan just wasn't executed properly. Chris Willock looked potentially dangerous on the break a couple of times, so maybe that was the plan, but it didn't seem to gel, and it was an added layer of confusion when Arsenal already looked a bit bereft of ideas.
Well, it's a busy period of football coming up for us. Of course, we return to Europa League action. 2 football games a week await. Is this a chance, Reece, for the squad to kind of really come into their own?
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll see that. I've no doubt about it. We touched on it pre-game about the returning players that have been out injured, the likes of Rob Holding, the likes of Bailey, and the likes of Kieran Tierney. The younger players that played, you know, such a vital role in the Europa League campaign last year, I'm sure will get some additional experience. Well, you know, I think take the performance out of the equation. A point away at Watford's not a disaster. You know, Watford were a decent side on their day. The fact that we were 2-0 up and we feel like it's a loss is by the by. So it's not a disaster. And I think, you know, getting back into the action as quickly as possible is the best way to remedy that. And you know, decent win on Thursday night will soon put to bed the second half performance from today, I'm sure, and hopefully some more experience for the young players, and we can move forward towards more positivity.
Yeah, Jim, are you looking forward to our Europa League campaign?
I'm intrigued by it, yeah, because I think it is going to be a chance for a lot of these younger players to really stake a claim, and we're at a point with the squad where that's important, and there are a lot of exciting players that are going to have to try and give Emery some headaches, I suppose. So yeah, I think we've got an interesting group in that there's some good teams in there, but the travel is quite kind. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, as are we. Now, that's it from us in the Arsenal Nation Live studio. Thanks to everybody for tuning in and for sending in your tweets as well. Of course, huge thanks to our wonderful studio guests, Reece and Jim. But before we let you go, we're going to get a one-word summary on today's game. Reece, we'll come to you first.
Frustrated.
It's always so
Sigh.
tough, this. Sigh. You can do a noise, like a... Relief. Is that relief or stress?
Stress.
Relief.
It's very much stress.
Relief is over.
Maybe a bit of both. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Fantastic studio guests, as always. And remember, you can join us once again on Arsenal Nation Live from 5:25 on Thursday when we return to Europa League action. See you then.